Well, it's our first attempt at a what
A co-discussion
a
type
co-discussion type video. It may be a little awkward. Just warning, and it also may take a while. I don't know, but we're gonna try to keep it interesting.
Dead air is inevitable.
There's gonna be a lot of dead air and probably not a lot of edits, so just keep that in mind. As you can see from the title, this is and my shirt. Discussions about Pokemon, mainly the games. Me personally, I haven't seen a lot of the anime. I don't know if you have or not.
No, I only saw the Kanto anime, and I just gave up after it just kept going along with the games.
Well, my biggest issue with the anime is it seemed like Ash never progressed as a person. Like, he always kind of sucked.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I've seen a good bit of, like, the first generation. I've recently started, because I've discovered on my 3DS that I can watch Pokemon. I've been watching the Black and White. I've been watching Rival Destinies. I just started that, which it starts out pretty cool. A lot of the battles are a little cooler, but so we can't discuss a lot of the anime because we don't have a whole lot of knowledge of the anime.
One thing I would like to bring up about the anime is that I think maybe the intent with Ash was basically supposed to be us in his shoes, but the thing about that is it backfires because we got better as trainers, and as the more games went along, the more we were able to adapt. We were able to adapt and become better trainers because of it.
I mean, I've been in that kind of debate with people about Ash before in the past. A lot of people think like, oh yeah, he sucks, but I've always tried to think of it as in a way that maybe they created that character so that we can relate. I guess that's basically what you're saying.
Essentially.
Just like,
but then
underdog. But he's an underdog that never excels, you know?
He never developed. He never won the Pokemon Championship. He always got close. He only beat Gary, I think, once.
And he's always losing, but still getting, like, handed the shit anyways. Like, he'll lose a battle and they're like, oh, well, you were a good guy.
It's like, friendship is awesome. That's all that matters.
Basically. But the games aren't like that. You have to get better in the games. So they don't really go, like, they don't coincide very well. They don't deliver the same message. But anyways, there's not really a whole lot of depth we can go into anime since we both haven't seen that. But when it comes to the games, I've been playing since day one. I remember buying Blue. That was the first one I had.
I loved Blue.
Is that the first one you had?
That was the first one I got simply because it was blue.
And blue is always my favorite color, so. I eventually got red too.
I had blue and my brother had red, and we didn't fight a lot. We didn't battle a lot because we only had one. Well, almost at all, but because we only had one Game Boy, and we took turns playing it, and my brother's friends who were also into Pokemon, whenever they brought their Game Boys, we would take the opportunity to fight. He would kick the living shit out of me, but.
Yeah, see, I was the only person in my family unit that was really into Pokemon. I mean, I was really into Pokemon.
Even then, I had trouble comprehending what Pokemon was. Like, before I watched the anime, I didn't really know what the game was. I'd be like, Squirtle, battle! But, usually I would get people that... Did you have this thing as a kid whenever you were stuck at a point and you got someone older than you who played the game before and like, can you do this for me?
I did that with other games, not ever with Pokemon.
The first Pokemon game I played all the way through was Yellow.
Yellow was a good one. I played them all the way, all of them. I don't know, we've battled a lot in the past. It always just clicked with me. Like, there were other games. I remember with Zelda Ocarina of Time, I had to find someone older to help me through that. But we're talking about Pokemon. But no, I always found my way through Pokemon. And like I said, in my family unit, I was the only person really that into it. But me and my friends from school, we were all extremely into it. We even called ourselves the Pokemon Club. And we were made fun of a lot. And we also...
I wonder why.
That was why. What I'm about to tell you is why. You remember the little toys? There used to be these little toys where like There were toy Pokeballs.
The Pokemon figurines attached to little Pokeballs.
Yes, but they could go in them, and you could clip them to your belt loops, and we did that in public, in school, and we thought we were awesome, but we weren't. But
you were awesome. In your mind, that was all that matters.
But that was like we didn't give a shit. People picked on us like we don't give a shit. You know, I have my Pikachu, and I have this. The games meant so much to me. Like, it's hard to explain how much they meant to me. Like, I was a dork. I didn't have a whole lot of friends, but the friends I did have, we were all kind of misfits. But we found a solace in these Pokemon games. And to this day, no matter what they put out, I guess people would call me a fanboy, but that's fine. No matter what they do, I'm always going to buy the next Pokemon game, you know? Because it holds that emotional bond that I developed when I was a kid. Just with our generation, games have just done that with people. I've learned that there are just certain franchises that really
you just hold a certain bond to.
Yeah, you know, I've been a lot of back and forth with how I feel about fanboys in games, and I don't think it's a guilty thing. I think we're emotional creatures, so these type of things we latch on to,
It's understandable to be passionate about something, but what people get annoyed about fanboys is just like how vehement, like how annoying they could get when they vehemently defend someone, and how they'll get sort of uppity about it.
Yeah, I never got like that.
Like, I was like, you don't like Pokemon? You're stupid. You're stupid.
Yeah.
I'm better than you. Pokemon's better than this stupid Halo Call of Duty shit. It was creative. Not like that.
Yeah, no, I don't. You've never known me. I've never been like that. In fact, I'll openly be like, yeah, I'm a total dork, but it makes me feel good. So
yeah, like I stated before, there are three tiers of fans. There are just the people who are just casual fans. Then there are like the fanboys who are just like super dedicated to it, and then there's like the people who are just obsessed with it, like who collect everything Pokemon related, Pokemon paraphernalia.
Yeah, but when even as a fanboy, if you want to call me that, I am still like completely aware of the mistakes in Pokemon. I'm not going to sit there and champion them as flawless games, and that brings me, to the current generations. There's a lot of problems I've had. It took a long time, it felt, for the games to evolve at all.
The new generation seems like it takes like it. I know it's not the right way to say this, but this is how I feel. It feels like it takes 2 steps forward, but 1 giant step back.
Yeah,
so,
it took a major step forward with the graphics. All of my life, through all of the Pokemon games, that's always how I envisioned a Pokemon game. It's the 3D. I felt like they could have did this 3D thing a long time ago. Not like the 3DS, but the 3D imaging. Like we had, when the N64 came out, we had games like the Mario games. I just lose my mind. It was the first like 3D Mario game.
Super Mario.
Yeah, Super. I can't believe that slipped my mind. That was one of my favorite games ever. For some reason it slipped my mind. But that was really innovative for its time.
Yeah.
Pokemon, like maybe not. It was always handheld, so I understand that's probably has a lot to do with its slow evolution. But I don't feel like it should have took this long to get to this point.
Well, let's see, I would kind of agree and disagree with you, because graphically it has taken little tiny steps, but I think with X and Y, they were going into new waters. So I figured they did take some great bounds and leaps in terms of the graphics department, but maybe with the next coming generations, they'll probably be more comfortable with the hardware they're working with, and they'll be able to work on the engine and make an even more immersive 3D world. Like there'd be no more space like a battle space in between the Pokemon during battles. Maybe it would just be in like a forested area, and they would just stand across from each other.
No more space between the Pokemon.
You know, like there would be this circle where the Pokemon would be.
You're talking about in the battle sequence.
Yeah, in the battle sequences, and basically what the next generation of Pokemon games could do is just eliminate all that together and just create a seamless integration into the sequence. Make it. It's a tiny touch, but it would make it would make a significant difference.
One thing I would like to see them do, like, well, first off, I want to say with X and Y, I love them. I love them.
They're great games.
They are great games, and with what you're saying, I guess you could kind of look at them as sort of a prototype, but a very competent one.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of glitches that need to be worked out, a lot of progress to be made, and maybe with the introduction of these games, we're about to see an exponential growth in evolution of Pokemon. Like I said, I'm always going to be there with Pokemon. I always have, and I always will. But I feel like Black and White 2 were kind of gimmicks a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the sequels, like they were good, but it's just like I felt like they were probably working on X and Y at the time, and they just kind of had that. They're like, all right, because they're really frequent. That's one thing I will give them with Pokemon. They're very frequent.
Like Black and White 2 basically just allowed Pokemon from older generations onto that basically in the Black and White universe.
Yeah.
Because Black and White 1 was just all new Pokemon all around, weren't they?
Yeah, I believe so. Well, yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I don't want to say
we could be wrong.
It's possible. One thing I think they need to slow down with, which they have in this generation, is introduction of new Pokemon. Like, I don't know how many there were. There's only like 60 new ones introduced or something like that.
Roughly.
It was something like that. And I liked a lot of them. Whenever I feel like they don't have to concentrate on putting out over 100, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna come up with as many creative ones as we can. Some of them were fails, but it wasn't
Pokemon.
That one was stupid.
That was like probably the worst Pokemon I've ever seen, and Vanilla can suck it.
They're all both of those. I don't like the keychain Klefki. I don't like Vanillite either.
I caught a Klefki and I nicknamed him Useless.
I caught one for the sake of Pokedex, but I immediately shut him in his box. But yeah, I like that there wasn't. I think that we don't need much more new Pokemon, at least not for a while. It's whenever you start making candles and lamps Pokemon and car keys and ice cream cones, you're stretching a bit, and it's starting to become a little saturated.
Pokemon that almost look like humanoids, that throw and suck.
Yeah,
they were basically just gi wearing karate masters.
And Honchula, the flying fighting type that Hawlucha. Yeah, that just looked like a person with a bird head, you know.
Well, they had to incorporate. There was never a flying fighting type Pokemon, was there?
I don't think there was ever one. So that was a neat way to introduce, because those are two that would be really hard to.
Because I kind of disagree with you on the concept of Hawlucha there, because I don't know. I don't know. I was just a sucker. I liked his design. I don't think I ever caught it, but I don't think Hawlucha was as bad as a concept as you say it is.
Well, I mean, agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, he's no car keys. But anyways, one thing also, my biggest problem with X and Y is the story. It's very vague. It's felt regurgitated a bit. And it was way too safe, I felt. What I think that they don't understand, the people making these games, is I feel like most of the people who are still playing the Pokemon games are us who grew up with it. Us older people. And we want a more suggestive story, something more difficult, something that, beyond the realm of an 8-year-old retarded boy. You know, it's
Basically, what you would like them to do is, basically how I would want them to do is make a story that would be acceptable for both kids and adults.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about put Pokemon dicks and assholes in there. I'm not talking about Pokemon sex.
Not like murder and war and all
no,
that
we
stuff.
don't need. I mean, no. Just something more competent. Something that's a little more challenging.
I think the creator's intent on the Pokemon story was not the plot at hand, but the story that you make yourself with your Pokemon and the journey you have.
Yeah, but there's not enough of that personal element there. You see what I'm saying?
I suppose so.
What if we had a Pokemon game that was focused mostly on like the personal nature and triumphs of an underdog protagonist? Everybody can, I mean, it's kind of like that already, but there's not really that. They talk of the personal relationships between you and your Pokemon, but there's nothing really evident in that. In the storyline, like they'll say it, but it's like there's nothing there. I just think there should be more interaction between your character and the Pokemon.
One risk I think that Game Freak should take is that when it comes to your avatar should have like his or her own unique personality.
Yeah.
And not just be an avatar. Like have him actually input into the world. Have him actually be part of the conversation.
Something I think would be neat if, because in none of the games, your avatar never speaks. Ever.
No.
If you had some sort of choices, like in games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age and shit like that, not to like a really deep extent, but where you get to choose responses, and each response kind of actually affects shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that
where the two characters converse with each other.
Yeah. Like, I know that would probably take a while, and it would be a challenge on handheld, because they're limited compared to, consoles, but
miracles can happen.
Yeah, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. But I just think it's time for the stories to evolve some, to grow up, because like I said, most of us are playing it are the people who grew up with it, and we're adults now, and we would like to see something a little more suggestive. It doesn't have to be gross shit. Like, we don't need Pokemon sex, but
like you mentioned in your review on your channel.
Yes,
like,
we don't need Pokédicks.
Where you follow your Pokemon and Pokemon and me.
Oh, you get to jack them off and stuff. Yeah, I totally want to see that.
But I think they have been progressing in that area. Because in the terms of Team Flare, they had a final solution subtext in there.
Yeah.
Where basically their goal was to kill everyone they didn't like and just cause a Pokemon extinction.
I will say with
that was pretty much the most overtly mature and dark they got.
But what I thought was kind of neat with it, what I will admit, even with the Black and White generation, is both of them are pretty dark stories, but also, like, are the villains villains? Like, I feel like, in a sense, they seek a positive end, but the means are inappropriate. Killing everyone. They never used that terminology. They wanted to essentially eliminate everybody that wasn't Flare.
Yeah. And the reasons behind it were, I guess, understandable because a lot of people like fuck up the world for the worst.
Yeah, the world's fucked up, and that's probably a subtext of the game.
Like even Professor Sycamore kind of acknowledged it and kind of viewed it from Lysandra's perspective, but disagreed on just killing everyone. Yeah. Like even with the Black and White generation. Like, they wanted, at least what they preached, is they wanted to liberate Pokemon because they felt they were captive. But complete hypocrites because they, themselves, captured the Pokemon and battled them. I think further along in the story, it was Gateses who just wanted to take everyone's Pokemon for themselves.
Yeah, eventually it was revealed. But it kind of, it kind of left you, I don't know,
Like the
torn
animal,
into different places of like, are these people actually bad or not?
as the plot progressed, and their aim became more clear, like you would know that like the animal rights activism subtext is all there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the PETA and shit has already attacked Pokemon and stuff. I don't know if that was their attempt to kind of alleviate that or not. I really don't think they're concerned
It could
at
have
all.
been an attempt to just satirize PETA. You wouldn't know.
Possibly. Do a kid's game. Yeah, like right now I'm making the first ever fervent attempt to complete my Pokédex, and it's very hard, but Wonder Trade is wonderful. That's one of my favorite, that's something I think that needs to stay.
I think what should be built upon is maybe like a trade auction, is where you put a Pokemon up for trade, and other trainers try to offer you their Pokemon trade.
Essentially an eBay situation
Pretty much.
for Pokemon.
It's like-
That would be an interesting way.
Because in terms of Wonder Trade, it can backfire horribly. You probably end up trading like an Arceus for a Caterpie.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's happened before.
Which happens a lot, but then you just trade that Caterpie, and you may just get something worse, or something better, or something you always have. But if you keep trading just that one, you'll eventually wind up with something good. It's just sometimes it takes a while. And that happens to me a lot.
Like a chain. You trade your god. You trade God for a little caterpillar, and then just work it up for maybe, I don't know, a Blastoise or something.
Yes, essentially. It's just
It's like,
about
sorry,
turnover.
God.
Needed a Blastoise. Anyways, as for the anime, I'm trying to get back into it, but it's the future of the games. So I can't speak for much for the anime because I'm not sure exactly what direction it's heading in. But I just think it's time for them to mature a bit. That's my main thing. Also, something with the battle mechanics I like to see. I like to see them finally be able to like actually strike each other. Like, like Scratch still is like they don't actually make contact with the other Pokemon.
That's kind of what I was referring to earlier. They like actual physical attacks.
Yes.
They like jump off and actually.
Yeah. Like a lot of the projectile moves will strike, but I'd like to see a lot of the more physical moves.
Watch Nidoqueen use guillotine and cut someone's head off. Wait, is that a move?
What?
Like one hit. I think in the earlier games there was a move called guillotine.
There might be,
It
but
was
I
a
don't
one-hit
remember
kick.
I remember head removal.
It was a one-hit KO move. So, I don't know. Someone correct us on that, please.
Yes. Anyways, I don't think they should introduce a new generation for a while. I say just use the shit tons of Pokemon we already have and do something better with them all. I want them all.
One thing, like, one part of the battle mechanic I think they need to change is that they need to change up the fairy type in terms of weaknesses and strengths.
Well,
because
it's
fairy type is overpowered. They're only weak against steel and ghost, I think.
I think it's poison.
Poison ghost, I'm not exactly sure.
I
Correct
think-
us on that.
I think. Just kind of off the top of my head. The fairy types, I like their introduction because dragons were overpowered before. And now dragons, like... Fairies are pretty much... Dragon types don't even affect them.
Yeah,
So
they're immune to 'em.
against dragons, that's good. But then you create a new type, and now it's a little overpowered. But there has to be like that one type that's like there has to be like the golden gun, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Like that's 007 reference. There has to be that. Like if everything was completely equal, there would never really be that that rarity. It's like, oh man, I don't get to see that often, but when I do, I'm going to use the shit out of it, and it's going to be very helpful. But you see what I mean?
I kind of see what you mean, but I think that would fall within the stats of the Pokemon and not exactly the type. Because some normal Pokemon are better than others, some fighting Pokemon are better than others stat-wise.
Yeah.
Like, and going back, I just thought of something kind of funny. And like going back, you said like the Pokemon stories needed to be mature.
Yeah.
I think like some people would be out there was like, I wish they make like a dark and mature Pokemon, and then they go on like, and then they actually go through with it, and it's just this whole dark epic story. Your trainer's wearing a long black trench coat with an eye patch. Like he's popping at the Pokemon. Is like, Dragonite, I choose you. And then the whole like the Dragonite just looks awesome, awesome and just dark fantasy and all that, and just wrecks the shit out of everything. The Pokemon will probably never end up being like that, but it'd be kind of be funny.
It would be. I mean, in terms of darkness, I don't want it to get too dark. But I don't feel like that would be too dark.
Pokemon has gotten dark before.
Yeah, but it's usually delivered in a way that only like older people is going to pick up on it. You know.
It's usually in the subtext.
Yes, and Pokemon Pokédex entries.
Oh yeah.
There's some creepy ones up in there.
Pokédex entries are fucked up.
But I remember growing up and stuff and playing. Like I never read the Pokemon Dex and Pokédex entries a whole lot. Or pay attention to the stats. I just cared about how cool the Pokemon was. But I always found a way through the Elite Four.
Yeah.
But mentioning the Dragonite thing, I think that would be an interesting way, an interesting take on a story. Like instead of like a team of people, an evil team of people, what if just like one extremely powerful Pokemon? Like I know we've had Mewtwo and stuff, but what if that one, like, we've had that in the anime, but not in the games. Just a really powerful Pokemon that's conflicted, and essentially it's your character's goal to defeat it. And keeping it from wrecking shit. And maybe there'd obviously be like probably an evil person that wants to join forces with this Pokemon or something, or use it to further its goal, but I think that'd be an interesting way.
I see where you're going for there. But one more thing I think they should change about the games is like in terms of the competitive aspect of it, is that they should give like trainer rankings on their license. That way they can differentiate between just the casual trainers who just play.
Don't they have a win and loss count though?
I believe so, but just. Like in terms of, I'm guessing, like when it comes to matchmaking, it would be like people would probably be at a better liberty to. Basically, I'm having a hard time wording this. Basically, what I think they should do is, like in terms of matchmaking, they should try to set up trainers more akin to them.
Yeah.
Like the super competitive trainers, with the EVs and IVs and all that. They should like have like a 5-star trainer rating, but the casual trainer should be like a 1 or 2 star, just to show how dedicated they are.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I still don't fully comprehend EV and IV training. I still don't get it.
That's just something that like only the most like hardcore Pokemon fans would.
I would like to understand it, but there's a lot of numbers.
Yeah. And math sucks.
Math does suck. A lot.
I think that's all I have to cover on it.
For now, but I'm sure there will be future of these, because with Pokemon it's never ending for me.
No, because catching them all just isn't enough.
And I'm trying to catch them all.
We have to make them
now.
murder each other! The end.
Wait, you said the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to promote my channel.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a link somewhere. It's in the description. Splendid Godlessness. You need to come over. Now, officially the fucking end.
Thank you.
It's just like
but then
underdog. He's an underdog that never excels,
He never developed. He never won the Pokemon Championship. He always got close. He only beat Gary, I think, once.
And he's always losing, but still getting like handed the shit anyways. Like he'll lose a battle and they're like, oh well, you were a good guy.
It's like,
so.
friendship is awesome. That's all that matters.
Basically. But the games aren't like that. You have to get better in the games. So they don't really go, like, they don't coincide.
About the bring up about the anime is that I think maybe the intent with Ash was basically supposed to be us in his shoes. But the thing about that is it backfires because we got better as trainers, and as the games the more games went along, the more we were able to adapt. We were able to adapt and become better trainers because of it.
I mean, I've been in that kind of debate with people about Ash before in the past. A lot of people think like, oh yeah, he sucks, but I've always tried to think of it as in a way that maybe they created that character so that we can relate. I guess that's basically what you're saying?
Essentially.
Well, it's our first attempt at a
co-discussion
type video. It may be a little awkward, just warning, and it also may take a while. I don't know, but we're going to try to keep it interesting.
Dead air is inevitable.
There's going to be a lot of dead air and probably not a lot of edits, so just keep that in mind. As you can see from the title, this is, and my shirt, discussions about Pokemon. Mainly the games. Me personally, I haven't seen a lot of the anime. I don't know if you have or not.
No, I only saw the Kanto anime, and I just gave up after it just kept going along with the games.
Well, my biggest issue with the anime is it seemed like Ash never progressed as a person. Like, he always kind of sucked.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I've seen a good bit of, like, the first generation. I've recently started, because I've discovered on my 3DS that I can watch Pokemon. I've been watching the Black and White. I've been watching Rival Destinies. I just started that, which it starts out pretty cool. A lot of the battles are a little cooler, but so we can't discuss a lot of the anime because we don't have a whole lot of knowledge of the anime.
One thing I would like to put up about
very well, they don't deliver the same message. But anyways, there's not really a whole lot of depth we can go into anime since we both haven't seen that. But when it comes to the games, I've been playing since day one. I remember buying Blue. That was the first one I had.
I loved Blue.
Is that the first one you had?
That was the first one I got simply because it was blue.
Blue is always my favorite color, so. I eventually got Red too. In time.
I had Blue and my brother had Red, and we didn't fight a lot. We didn't